Hey everybody, Michael Snyder, Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today is November 23rd, and right now we are looking at the infrared satellite imagery. Check out our frontal system pushing across Pacific Northwest as we speak. And if you look out across the Pacific Ocean, you can see some more active weather is in store as we go through Thanksgiving week. We'll take a look at the latest on that as we go through the runs today. And we'll take a look at that cold Arctic air that's moving across portions of Northwest Canada and trying to slide down towards the Rocky Mountains. We'll see if that has any chance of getting back into the Pacific Northwest. So stay tuned for that also. And looking at the combination of Doppler radars, you can see the frontal system just now passing through some of the Seattle Metro, across Northwest Oregon, Eastern Washington, Idaho Panhandle, and portions of Western Montana getting some precipitation. Again, across some of the higher terrain, it's coming in the form of snowfall. More on that here in a moment as well. So taking a look at the European model, you put that into motion, you see some of that snowfall activity here, especially as we go through tomorrow morning, again for the Idaho Panhandle, Rocky Mountains of Montana as well. And then we kind of bring a chilly system through here as we go through the day Monday. It's a bit moisture starved, but it could produce a few inches of snow for the higher terrain of the Cascades. Then we wait for the more substantial system here as we go through Tuesday afternoon. I was hoping this would hold off a little bit longer so it'd give you a Tuesday, a full day to travel back and forth, but it doesn't look like that is going to be the case. As you see, as we go through the very early afternoon hours, the snow starts to fly for Stevens, Snoqualmie, White Pass. So probably doing your travel by early Tuesday morning is the best way to go, because by the time you get towards Tuesday afternoon and evening, you can see the snow piling up across some of the Cascades. And we go on through Wednesday morning here as well, still wintry precipitation continuing across some of the higher terrain, maybe even getting down towards Highway 2 there across eastern Washington. And you see that persistent precipitation kind of hang with us as we go on in through Wednesday, all the way on in through Thursday. Low pressure system moves towards Vancouver Island. Some blustery conditions, continued mountain snows across some of the region. And then we scroll on in through Friday, still yet continuing some of this precipitation across the region. And you can see this Arctic boundary on the European starts to try to leak into central BC here a little bit. Some of this chillier air trying to filter into the region. The bulk of it still staying east of the Rocky Mountains, but we got to watch that Arctic air. It doesn't take much to kind of make things kind of tricky and cool things down and put things below freezing. Now, if we look at accumulated positive snow depth change in inches as we go through Tuesday afternoon, look at that across the Cascades of Washington. See that toggling back and forth? That's when that snow starts to fly. So you're going to want to wrap up your travel before then if you can. And again, some snowfall for some of the lower elevations, eastern Washington, Oregon. And then you can see for eastern Washington, eastern Oregon has higher terrain features out here. But if we scroll on in towards this weekend, again, you can kind of see that Arctic front adding some more snowfall and a bit of a difficult forecast. I'll show you what I mean here on that in a moment. Now, taking one more look at that snowfall again, Tuesday late morning, early afternoon, it starts to fly there for the Cascades. And you can see even Snoqualmie Pass getting 3, 4, 5, 6 inches of snow, a bit more at Stevens, some for White Pass there also. So you might want to wrap up your travel by Tuesday morning if you can. So looking at total precipitation in inches, here we go. As we scroll on in through the next few days, you can see you got quite a bit of rainfall coming for portions of Seattle, Portland, Cascades, Washington, Oregon. The Rocky Mountains doing pretty nicely as well. And again, a lot of that will be in the form of snow across the higher terrain. The coastal areas getting a nice shot of rainfall here as well as we go all the way on into Thanksgiving weekend. Now, the excessive rainfall outlook also kind of starting to pay attention here to this precipitation event coming up here as we go on in towards what this would be on the day on Thanksgiving here. So we'll watch this here over the next few days. Now, talking about the Arctic air that's going to be on the move here and probably sliding down towards the Rockies here through the extended forecast. Let's take a look at the artificial intelligence on the left and the GFS on the right and some of the pains that meteorologists undergo when trying to watch this Arctic air. You can see the GFS initially starts to show up being a bit colder here across northern and central British Columbia as we go on into about the 27th to the 28th. And then again, some big model discrepancy. Look at the GFS wants to drive this Arctic air into central BC and then eventually down across portions of Washington and Oregon. But look at the discrepancy here between the artificial intelligence on the left. Now, the GFS isn't always too bad, but the artificial intelligence is generally a better model. So, but still, when you're dealing with Arctic air at this range, it still makes you pause and take some caution with the possible track of that Arctic air. Now, if we look at the GFS versus itself, it's run to run. It's just been showing a pretty good shot of Arctic air for much of the Pacific Northwest. You can see me toggling back and forth here as we go through the Thanksgiving weekend coming up. I mean, that would be on Sunday. There we go on into Sunday night right there. So yeah, a lot of Arctic air moving down into the Pacific Northwest, if you believe the GFS. However, when you check out the ensembles, we'll scroll forward here, and you can see the GFS does still bring the colder air there, but it doesn't show nearly the signal on the ensembles, although it is colder than the artificial intelligence. But the bulk of the cold air still stays east of the Rocky Mountains. So it shows you that those GFS deterministic runs are probably a bit of an outlier, and some of that Arctic air is probably not going to be that strong as what the GFS is showing. Plus, you kind of lean towards what the European models generally say. Now, if we look at the no, this is just a regular GFS ensemble mean also. So it's going to split the difference a little bit here. I'll give you a bit of a heads up. But you can kind of see the Arctic air try to push down into central BC a little bit more than what the artificial intelligence is showing. So again, it's definitely worth watching, and it's probably going to filter in some cooler air, if nothing else, into the region. So we'll be watching that over the next few days. Now, a daily 2-meter max temperature across the region. This is Sunday, November 23rd. There's Seattle, there's Portland right there, right around 50 degrees or so. You can see Monday, Tuesday. We start to cool down a little bit there by Tuesday. You can see Spokane, what, about 36 degrees or so. There's Wednesday. Thursday, there's Thanksgiving Day. Looks like mid 50s for Seattle, some rain going on, some mid 50s for the Willamette Valley, Southwest BC, upper 40s or so. And you can kind of see how it starts to cool down this time of year across Alberta and portions of British Columbia, of course. And we go through Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Notice how we start to cool down. That's that Arctic air trying to get down into the region here. So again, we'll be watching that and keeping you alerted on the latest turns and twists of that Arctic air. And if we take a look at overnight minimum lows into the early morning hours, I show the Celsius one here because when you get into the silver, you're below freezing. So there's Tuesday morning, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and you see that cooler air start to arrive as we go through next weekend there. I'm kind of pushing down, but the bulk of that, again, stays off to the east of the Rocky Mountains, but still gets us with some chilly air. Now, 6 to 10 day, again, you can kind of see how that's reflected there. A lot of that east of the Rockies, but maybe clipping some portions of the Pacific Northwest. We'll be, again, checking that out day by day, and there's the 6 to 10 day not telling us much. Now, something going on through the very extended model runs here. This goes out 46 days, but again, it continues to show this signal across northwest Canada and portions of Alaska and into the Pacific Northwest. So this is definitely a La Nina flavor to it as we go through the first portion of January. And I'll take an Arctic outbreak in January any day because that's generally when we get our coldest weather. The air mass would likely be at its coldest, and you would be having short days and things like that. So if you're a lower elevation snow lover, you like this signal off through the extended. The problem is that it's 39, 46 days out there. So it's just kind of looking at tea leaves at this point. But in a La Nina winter, a lot of times this pattern can set up where you get the ridging out here south of the Aleutian Islands. It allows for that north-northwest flow and some of this cooler than normal air. And that's definitely what the European has been picking up on. It's been showing that day to day for some time now. If we take a wider view at things here, you can kind of see that, again, the ridging a little bit above normal here as we go. Again, a La Nina flavor to that, and then a little bit of that troughing here across Western Canada. So just something to watch and just something to keep in the back of your mind, maybe something to look forward to here as we go through December or January. And sea level pressure would reflect that as well. As you can see, above normal sea level pressures there, and that would some very subtle troughing with maybe some Arctic air across Western Canada. So anyway, yeah. Check out the Patreon page if you like. Probably the best way to donate some of your hard-earned money towards the Pacific Northwest and California Weather Watch channels. But yeah, anyway, hope you guys are having a good day, and I will catch you in the next forecast.